up until recently, I wasn't a big fan of reading. I didn't enjoy reading in the school program and especially disliked interpretations I was meant to agree with to get a grade. To this day, I am not sure what I was supposed to learn from War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy at the age of 15. For many years, reading felt like an unattainable hobby for the gifted ones. In my spare time, I read the Harry Potter series and other young adult novels. And yes, that includes Twilight. These books were easy to understand and I could discuss them with anyone. Later, by some miracle, I finished Atlas Shrugged, my first serious read since graduation, but given my reading history, I was far from being a bookworm. After I moved to the UK, I wanted to improve my English, so I thought reading might help. I started buying biographies of YouTubers and other TV stars since I didn't have the access to the paper copies in Ukraine. I remember also buying a Sports Gene, a book I heard of, but I had to give it up almost immediately because I couldn't process it well. Biographies were easy to understand, so I kept going until I read every book I wanted to. Because I allowed myself to read what was interesting to me and not what I thought I should read, I slowly started enjoying it. I had no deadlines, no one to judge my choices or my opinions. After seeing at least 1,000 ads about Audible, I decided to give audiobooks a proper try, and no, sadly this video is not sponsored. At first, I found it very hard to concentrate and not to get distracted. I kept trying until I hit bingo. I noticed that when I was doing mundane tasks that didn't require a lot of cognitive thinking, I didn't get so distracted. Soon I started cleaning the house only if I had books to read. For the first time, my apartment was spotless. Reading helped me to transform this mundane task into a useful and a fun one. Half a year later, I finished the Sports Gene. The downside of audiobooks is lack of functions to take notes. Although I remember general ideas, the important details do slip away. But if I had to choose between getting no information and learning at least some, I would definitely choose the latter. I do own a Kindle and a tablet, but I don't use them often for books. I find the tablet screen too bright to read for long hours, and I still prefer audio to Kindle because it keeps my hands free and I can multitask. Side note, multitasking is bad, so make sure you really don't have to think on your side tasks. I have settled at using an iPad for daily morning news reading, and I mostly use my Kindle when I want to read books that don't have the audio version. Ebook also seems to be much more suitable for the long flights. The more comfortable I got with reading, the more books I binged. I read 4 books in 2016 and 25 in 2019. Here are some tips that you might want to try to read more. Every habit consists of 3 parts: trigger, process, and reward. Figure out what your trigger would be. For me personally, it's cleaning. Figure out what your process is. To me, it's reading audiobooks, but it might be paper books or anything else that works for you. It might be ebooks. And then the reward. To me, a reward is just marking the progress on the Goodreads application. It really helps me to pat myself on the back after I finish the chapter. If you stick to these 3 parts, you're so much more likely to implement this habit on a day-to-day basis. I'm not personally a fan of forcing yourself to do something, so I will advocate against it, and I would say don't force yourself to read 20 books a day. Just don't. Put it somewhere inside. You'll get to it. When you're trying to build a new habit, it is extremely important to remove all the friction. You have to figure out what works for you. For example, you are more likely to read a book if you put it somewhere where you can see it often. Just make sure there's no other clutter or anything else in the room. If you have a table and it's completely cluttered, what are the chances you're gonna notice that book? But if your table is relatively empty and has a lot of free space and there's this one book that you really want to read, you're so much more likely. Your job is to make reading as easy for yourself as possible. I also think it really helps thinking about your environment a lot. For example, if you're reading on transport, think whether you want to get a paperback instead of hardback. You can swap to an ebook, and if it's outside of your budget, there are a lot of options of buying used Kindle online. They're quite cheap. You can get them on eBay, on the marketplace. I sometimes go as far as checking whether most of my bags can fit books. It was very important to me before I started reading audiobooks because I would buy very thick books and they were heavy. I wouldn't carry them around, so it was a waste of money. And sometimes I had a book for traveling and a book for reading at home, so I didn't have to take this carry with me. Don't be afraid to drop a book. If you don't like it, drop it, forget about it, donate it, give it away. You absolutely do not have to finish the book if you start it. You have all the right to pick and choose just like you do with the movies or anything else, but drop in the books that you don't like. You are allowing space for the books that you might really enjoy reading. Now, let's summarize. Read the books that you want to read, not the books you think you should read. Figure out what your trigger, process, and reward is. Create the environment around yourself so reading is extremely easy. Get everything out of the way, put the book in there, and pick the tools that work for you. Try different things and remove all the possible friction. Try to analyze how you read and how you can improve it. And last but not least, if you don't like the book, drop it. Thank you so much for watching my video. I'll see you in my next one.